And we welcome you back to Newsmax Now. Yesterday, we interviewed Fox News host Bill O'Reilly. He is the author of the new book, Killing Reagan. And that book is causing a lot of controversy. We asked Bill what he thought about that controversy. Here's what he had to say.
There's a cabal, a group of people out in California, some of them associated with the Reagan Library in Simi Valley, that object to any kind of an objective look at President Reagan. Now, even before the book was published, these people were buzzing around saying things like, well, we hear you're doing this or we hear you're doing that, because we did make inquiries to a lot of people who did know Ronald Reagan and posed questions while researching the book. So, it's not historians per se. It's a group that wants to keep Ronald Reagan's legacy pristine and doesn't really want to take an objective look at him. So that's what they're objecting to here.
Yeah, not just historians, but biographers as well, like Craig Shirley. The big issue in your book, though, is that you claim that John Hinckley's 1981 assassination attempt, that didn't kill Reagan, of course, but it left him diminished mentally, and that he really wasn't there during the remaining 7 years of his presidency. Many Reagan people, as we mentioned, including Craig Shirley, say that simply is not true. How do you respond to those folks?
The book says that Reagan was wounded and severely impacted by the wound, and that he had his good days and his bad days, and that he had trouble in certain areas, but then he overcame that trouble. It's a very laudatory book about President Reagan, showing a man of courage and how he evolved into that. So the part about President Reagan being impacted by the bullet is maybe 20% of the book. The rest of it is his story, how he attained power, what kind of a person he was, and that the challenges that he overcame. So for me, reading this book, and I've got thousands of letters to back this up, this is a very praiseworthy book of Ronald Reagan, who was, in my opinion, one of the top 10 presidents of all time.
Yeah, well, not praiseworthy enough for the likes of George Will, who has now written 2 articles about you and the book. You have called one of those pieces a hit piece. Why do you think Will has made this so personal against you?
Well, there's a couple of reasons. Number one, Will is invested in the legacy of Ronald Reagan. He was very close friends with Nancy Reagan. They dined together. His wife worked for Ronald Reagan, Will's wife. We are going to break a story on Monday that shows George Will's associations with certain people and his motivation for running down the book. I don't really know Mr. Will. I helped him out on a couple of his books, but I don't know him to any extent. And I was surprised when I heard he was going to write a hit piece. And so our producers here in New York called Washington and said, gee, if George has any questions about anything, call Bill, be happy to talk to him. And Will said that he would, never did, and just wrote 2 hit pieces. We are very powerful here, as you know, John.
Yeah.
On television and in publishing. I don't think the old guard really likes that on both the right and the left. So I'll leave it to your viewers and readers to decide his motivations, but certainly they're not pristine.
But when you say that we are very powerful, Will's a paid contributor at Fox News. Is he not part of the team?
I don't know. I don't have anything to do with him. I run my program here. I answer to Roger Ailes. That's my extent of it. So I don't know Will's relationship with Fox News at all. He's in Washington.
All right, we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second, but I want to talk more about his allegations. He alleges that you and co-author Martin Dugard didn't interview people close to President Reagan. You did not go to the Reagan Library for research. Is that true?
That is true, because we are not writing a biography here. If you read Killing Patton, and I hope you do, John, you'll really like it. It's good. We didn't interview the Patton family. We didn't interview people close to George Patton. We did our research independently from people who have no skin in the game, no emotion in the game. That's how you get the true story. So, to talk to Ed Meese, for example, why would I do that? I didn't talk to Ron Reagan either. Why would I do that? They all have agendas. They all see the president in their own way, and that's fine. I don't object to that. But what we do, Martin Dugard and I, is that we research what happened from a purely objective point of view. And we stack it up. We've done this in all the killing books, all 5 of them, and we tell you a story, not a biography. And we've gotten criticized on all the books for doing that, but obviously they've all sold more than 2 million copies, and Reagan is heading that way as well.
And so part one there of the interview, very surprising to get an email from Bill O'Reilly's publicist asking if we wanted to talk to him. I had to double check and make sure nobody was trying to spam me in that email.
This wasn't a real or fake. That was real. And we're going to hear much more from him later on. But first, we want to update you on that Paris story. We're going to have much more details coming up in our headlines. But right now, this is what we know. French media reports police say there were 3 attacks. The gunman reportedly used AK-47s. There's also an ongoing hostage situation that's happening in Paris. CNN reports the hostages are being held at a theater. Much more to come. You're watching Newsmax Now.